going to be making a new batch of soap today that's going to be a no-waste soap. Typically, I make this towards the end of the year as my no-waste Galaxy soap. The time is a little bit off because I was doing some other things, but I'm still going to make this with a little bit of changes. So with this, I have in these two molds, I have rolled up balls of soap that are from previous batches. So whenever I bevel the edges, I roll them into a ball, and I did go ahead and keep them in the freezer this year because, you know, if they're sitting out all year, this keeps them nice and fresh. So they are thawed out and ready to go in those two molds. And here, the kind of funky color is I also like to use up any oils that just need to be moved along. So I keep squeeze bottles with mica and oil in them that I use as some really fun pops of color, because the mica and oil, when you just put a little line of color in there, it makes it really pretty. This is, let me show you actually two real quick. So this one, that's all oil and, excuse me, mica and oil that I put on there. And then if you can kind of see the little drops, and I did a hanger swirl on this one as well, so you can kind of see those colors in there. And then this one is, we did a texture design, so I did, or textured tops, where I had just regular soap batter, and then I put some lines of that mica and oil and then dipped it, so you can kind of see that color. It looks really cool. And anyway, so I needed to use those up, so that's what that kind of purplish color is on that. And then the fragrance I'm going to be using, I think it'd be fun to do a Galactic Grape with this. I'm going to use Grape from Essential Depot. This does discolor to a dark brown, so what I'm planning on doing is pulling out a little bit of this to keep it kind of not uncolored, because it's going to be kind of a gray color, and then I'll add this to the rest and put in some activated charcoal. Now real quick, with that oil and mica, I like to use morphing colors for that. They do not behave well in cold process, but they work really good for those little swirls. So let me grab that one real quick. So like this color, this gold looks really pretty there, but if you use it in cold process, it kind of turns, actually, let me show you that bar real quick that I just had. If you can see, this is kind of white, and there's a really, really pale yellow there. See kind of the pale yellow? That's what it does in cold process. In this green, which is really pretty, it actually kind of morphs to a blue. And then I've got a purple that turns gray, and I've got a pink that just fades like crazy. I've used it in every application. Anyway, it works really great for that. And then they work for, you know, like bath bombs and melt and pour, but sometimes they're not cold process stable. So anyway, that's what that is. Those colors are in there. Now with the lye solution, my original plan was to do a wine soap as well, because I thought it'd be fun to do with the grape. No such luck. Two things with that. Number one, when you're doing a beer soap or a wine soap, you want to boil the beer because you want it flat and you want to boil out the alcohol. So I had prepared the wine a while back, and it's been in the freezer for quite a while, and I'm like, this will be a perfect opportunity to use it. So one thing with that wine is it does have the sugars, so it gets hotter when you make the soap, but also when you're doing the lye solution, so you have to be careful. And I did decide to go ahead and record it because I knew it was going to go through these crazy color changes, which it does. The other thing that was the issue today is at the beginning of the year, I started using citric acid in my soaps. Citric acid, it's from citrus roots. The thing with citric acid is it does two things for your soap. Number one, it helps extend the life of the oils in the final product, in the final soap. And it also acts as a chelator, which it helps prevent soap scum in your shower. So I'm like, this will be a great thing to do. I've got citric acid here, so I'm gonna start adding it to all my batches. The thing with citric acid, just like the wine, when you're making your lye solution, it heats it up. So I've actually started just regular water. I've started adding ice cubes to help keep it down, keep that temperature down a little bit. What happened today, which I've never done this before, is adding the two together. I had a volcano with my lye solution, and it was like I said, I'll show the video here in a second. I had gloves on, I had my mask on, I had goggles on, I had it under my vent hood on my stove, and thankfully I had put a thick washcloth underneath the plastic container, the heavy duty plastic container I used to mix my lye solution in, because of the condensation from the frozen wine. I had thawed it just enough to mix in the citric acid, because you have to mix that in with the liquid first before we add the lime. Anyway, so it was still very cold, But when I had added the lye to it, just a combination of the sugars in the wine and the citric acid, it was just too much, and it did bubble over. I will edit out the cuss words that I said, but thankfully, it was an easy cleanup. I wish I had done it in a sink, so that's something to think about next time if I do something like that. But I had to go ahead and dispose of that because I had actually lost about 5 ounces of my total solution, and I do not know what the actual math would be anymore, so I end up having to dispose of that and make a whole new batch of lye solution. No wine, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So I'm going to cut over to that here in a second, and then once my lye solution is cooled down enough to actually use, then I'll go ahead and make the soap. But one main reason why I'm sharing this with you is because this is science. This is an exothermic reaction, and unpredictable things can happen, and you have to be prepared for them and have taken those safety measures beforehand in case something like that does happen. Make sure that you have, you're fully gloved, have your mask on, have a fan on or well-ventilated room, have eye protection, have, sleeves, gloves, everything, and be able to safely clean up any messes that can happen, because things do happen. But make sure when you're making a lye solution, or even soap for that matter, don't use glass. Even with the liquid measuring cups, because I'll be honest, I started doing that, but then with the extreme temperature changes that can happen and etching and things like that, you need to use really thick, really good plastic containers. Number 5, food grade. I think number 2 as well is okay, but make sure that they are 2 and 5. Make sure that they are good quality containers, and make it as safe as possible. So, like I said, I'll cut to that video now so you can see that it's like 30 seconds. That's so fast, how quick it happens. Cut to that video, and then we'll come back when I'm actually making the soap.